Well, you know what? We've done our we've done all of our previews, right, for the NFL division by division. So I noticed, Brad. I don't know if Coward has made his picks, but he kind of alluded to picking the Jets to make the playoffs this year as the wild card representative.
Did he really?
He said it yesterday. I don't know if he's officially made that pick yet, but he's talking about how Darnold is going to be better than Mayfield this year. He's still kind of hanging on that. I'm not down on Darnold, but I do think Mayfield will have a better statistical season this year than Darnold, but we'll see. But yeah, let's just go kind of conference by conference. Let's go division winners. If you had to pick right now, and we'll do wild cards, and we'll make some predictions. You want to do that?
All right, I like the sound of that.
All right, let me get my pen out here so I can make the notes and everything. But let's just start in the AFC. So it's the Patriots, obviously, right? The East.
Yep.
No question there. So who do you got in the North?
In the AFC North?
Yeah.
The AFC North, I would have to go with Pittsburgh.
I'm with you there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I'm sorry, let me pull up the odds too. So what is Bet Online? We'll get to that when we get to the playoffs. So the South, who are you taking now? We just talked about it.
I would take the Texans.
I agree with you, but I like that. I'm warring with myself right now. I'm thinking about taking the provocative Jacksonville pick, but
It sounds fun, doesn't it?
It does sound fun, but let's focus on getting paid, right? If we had to put our money down, we'd put our money down on the Texans. I agree with that. And then in the West, you have
Chiefs.
Yeah, so not a single disagreement between the two of us there. Which bodes well, frankly, because as I will remind our listeners, last year when we agreed last year, we were like 65. I think the percentage goes up. I was about to say 67. I know we were at least 65.
It was solid, man, and it was really strong late in the year. Playoff time.
Oh man,
really good.
Because I had a pretty brutal first 4 weeks, and you were pretty even keel the first 4 weeks. But once I got adjusted, basically weeks 4 through 17, I mean, we were probably at like 80% those last. I mean, we were really humming, but I know we were between 65 and 70, probably closer to 65 for the season, and that's picking all games, not just our favorite games. That's picking all games against the spread, not winners and losers. Anyway, so we have the same ones now. Wild card, to me, this is going to be where it really gets interesting. I'm going to have a hard time. I have one right off the top of my head. I think the Chargers will definitely be in a wild card there. So that sixth playoff position for the conference, I'm having trouble. Why don't you? I'll just give you some teams that I'm thinking about. Right, Cleveland's going to be in the mix, but I think you and I both agree they're probably a year away. I see them almost as we were just talking about, those NFC runs. The year the Redskins won the Super Bowl, Dallas made the playoffs. They were 10-6, and they were really looking strong. And the next year, they basically won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls after that. I think that's where Cleveland is. We'll see what Freddie Kitchens can do as a coach, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year. I think they're a year away from really hitting their stride. So I'm going to stay away from Cleveland, but I'm very high on where they are as an organization. Indianapolis, Jacksonville, I think will be in there just because they're going to be battling it out, but I don't think they'll get there. I like Baltimore.
Me too. Me too. That's who I would. That's who I was going to take.
Yeah, I don't see, and I'm higher, Brad. I'm higher on Buffalo than I was, but I don't think they're playoff caliber. So I'm with you, man. We're 6 for 6. That doesn't often happen.
That's crazy.
Between us.
That is crazy.
So we'll get back to that and start making some. We'll seeding these things out in just a little bit. So let's go NFC.
Now listen, we went chalk a little bit. What do you think about that, Sean? We did kind of.
Well, what do they say? They say every year, there's like 6 new playoff teams on average. So Pittsburgh, it makes one.
Well, that's a good point. They did not make the playoffs last year, which is weird.
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah. Baltimore actually did make the play. We picked basically 5 returning playoff teams, which is statistically speaking, we're not right about that. If we were going to go with the law of averages with that stuff, I guess I would think more seriously about Cleveland. I would think more seriously about, a team like Jacksonville getting back in, something like that. Denver is a team that's really intriguing me, actually, if you're talking about surprise teams, just because their defense looks they look every bit as good as the Bears did last year in preseason. Dude,
If
they
there
look
was
so
another
good.
wild card slot, I would have gone Denver.
Really.
I would not have gone Cleveland. Yeah, if there was one more wild card available, I would have said Denver.
You know, man, I think you and me are like some of the only two people in the country talking about Denver like this seriously.
Yeah.
They're a team that can run the ball, and Flacco is not as bad as everybody
Yeah,
thinks he is. He's
we're
not.
both a little high on Flacco. I like it.
Yeah, man. And so, like, you know, but when you think about this, right? Let's just say that the West. We talked a little bit about the AFC West in our preview last week. Let's just say that Oakland is good and Derek Carr does push the ball downfield, right? They can be a factor. But what that does is this makes this division a lot harder. And if the division is a lot harder, I mean, that's 6 games you have to play against a divisional foe.
Sure.
Then that makes maybe the AFC East a little bit easier if Sam Darnold can separate himself, if Josh Allen can continue his ascension, which I've talked about on text with you, and I think I've talked about on other YouTube shows, but I haven't actually talked about this podcast. Like, Josh Allen is doing the dink and dunk, open things up down the field thing. Like I said, I think they're far. I think he's still a little bit too raw, but Buffalo's better, in my opinion, than when I was talking about him on our AFC East preview way back in the first episode of these previews. So I'll say that. But yeah, man, I'm with you. Denver, they can run the ball, and Emmanuel Sanders, dude, looks every bit as good as he did 4 or 5 years ago when he's coming off that injury. It's incredible. So
Yeah, I think good things are waiting Denver.
yeah, man, that's a tough division. That could very
It's a
easily
tough place
be.
to play too, man. They're a storied franchise. You know, they're always pretty good, right? They're almost like Baltimore in that way. They're always just kind of pretty good, and it's just unfortunate that they had who'd they have there? Gilbert Godfrey last season, trying to
Keenum, yeah, you're right. It was Keenum.
They had Keenum. Come on, man. They were still pretty good.
They were still pretty good.
Yeah, trying to see his way through the helmet. You know, the helmet's too big for his face.
Well, now Case Keenum's the starter, named the starter in Washington. So there you go.
Oh boy, yeah, there it
Get to
is.
see him for another year. All right, so let's go to the NFC East. Who do you have the win in the division there?
This gets a little interesting.
I think we're going to start to see some variance here.
Well, I think I'm going to have to go Eagles. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, to me, it's Eagles or Cowboys, right?
Right, right.
The Zeke thing, I think it's going to go games into the season. Man, you know what? I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I like their defense better, and Pollard, I think, is just good enough to keep that thing going until Zeke gets back there. And I'm a little bit worried about Wentz's health. So just for that reason, I'm going to go Dallas, and then also a little bit because we've already agreed on everything else. So we got to have something interesting here to talk about. So I'm going to take Dallas. You're going to take Philly. Okay, so moving it on to the North, who you got?
Green Bay.
Yeah, we actually agree on that. I still agree on that from our preview. I like Green Bay quite a bit. Moving on to the South, New Orleans.
New Orleans, yep.
Yeah, I got to go with that. Now, what do you think about the West?
Ooh, the West is a wild one, man. Wild West. I would have to go the Rams, though, right? I mean, you got to go chalk a little bit with that team.
Yeah, the coach quarterback combo, and I think Gurley is healthier than people think he is right now. So I'm going to go with the Rams as well. So moving it on to wild card, who you got, Brad?
Wild card, I would have to go. You want me to pick both of them now, or just one of them?
How about your first one?
My first one, I'd have to go Dallas.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick right now. I'm going to say my top wild card team is Minnesota. So my 5 seed for the playoffs, I'm going to go Minnesota for them, just because I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I liked what I saw from Dalvin Cook, finally seeing him in action, and that they still have Diggs, they still have Thielen. Kirk Cousins, he's going to lose every nationally televised game, but I think he'll win. He'll win. I think he'll win enough of them. True. It is, man. I say it every week, and it never gets untrue, man. He's going to lose every single.
It becomes untrue.
Yep. So, like if there's if there's a power outage throughout the. If we get hit with a solar flare, and none of the games are televised. Throughout the playoffs, I think Minnesota could be your Super Bowl champion. But unfortunately, they are going to have to play a nationally televised game at some point. But I do have Minnesota as my top wild card team. I think that's going to be kind of down to the wire between those two teams. Who's your second wild card team, Brad?
Dude, I'm going to have a little fun with this one. I'm going to say San Francisco 49ers.
Ooh, I like that one. So for me, it comes down to Atlanta and Philadelphia for that last spot. Again, just because I'm concerned about Wentz's health, he hasn't played a full season, even back with his really good blow-up season a couple years ago. I like what Cutter brings to the Atlanta offense. If Dan Quinn can get that defense under control, I think that they will eke it out and get into the playoffs. So I'm going to take Atlanta. So we have some variance there, and you have the 49ers. So let's go back to the AFC. So you're going to have wild card games. Let's just say, who do you think the top 2 seeds are going to be, just so we can seed this thing out?
It would have to be New England and Kansas City, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I actually think Pittsburgh is going to be in that mix as well.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, because New England doesn't necessarily have to be the number 1 seed all the time, right? And they're just fine, as it turns out. So
yeah, I think I'm going to take KC and Pittsburgh as a surprise. I think Pittsburgh will be like a 12-4, KC will be like 12-4, and maybe like New England goes like 11-5 or something like that, or maybe 12-4 and loses on tie breaks, just to add some intrigue. So that'd mean like New England is a 3. I would say Baltimore's the 6. So those 2 teams would play, and then you got Houston versus the Chargers, and another nightmare first game for Houston in the playoffs. So
right.
So who do you think would win those 2 games?
And the Chargers take that one. And what was the other one? I'm sorry, Sean.
New England versus Baltimore.
Oh, New England for sure.
Yep. Okay, and then you got, if we seed those back, then you would have KC versus New England in the second round. I'm sorry, no. That would be Pittsburgh versus New England in the second round, and KC versus the Chargers in the second round. Who you got there?
That'd be fantastic.
That would be a great weekend of football.
It'd be a great weekend of football, right?
Yeah.
I would have to go with New England and then KC.
I'm going to take KC for sure. I don't know, man. I think this year, with the receiving issues, no Gronk, I'm going to take Pittsburgh. I'm going to take Pittsburgh. And look, I just don't want to take New England, right?
I know. I don't want to take them either.
Right. If I'm betting in the playoffs and I have money to put down, I'm not taking Pittsburgh in that game. I don't care what the line is. I'm not doing it. But, this is a podcast. Let's just be interesting here. I'm not going to take New England. I'd be falling asleep by the end of this thing. So let's say Kansas City, Pittsburgh going into Kansas City in the AFC Championship. Who you get there? Oh, and you can take New England. My bad. I know if you're going to take New England, you can take that one.
You know what? I'm gonna be a little cute too. I'm gonna take Kansas City this year.
And I will do the same. So we both got Kansas City coming out of the AFC. So let's seed them out in the NFC. Do you think New Orleans is 1, Brad?
Yeah. Why wouldn't they be?
Yeah. Who do you think the 2 would be? So you have Philadelphia, Green Bay, and the Rams. Best record out of those 3.
Green Bay. Give them a little love.
Yeah, I also think they have the easier schedule. I could be wrong on that, but I won't begrudge you those. So I'll take those as the number 1 and number 2. So number 3 for you would probably be what? The Rams, right?
Yep.
And then number 4 for you would be Philly. Number 4 for me would be Dallas. So that would mean number 5 for me is Minnesota. Are they your team as well, Brad? I can't remember.
I took San Fran as a wild card. San Fran and Dallas.
Oh, okay. So Dallas would be your 5. And San Fran is your 6. For me, it's Minnesota and Atlanta. So we definitely have some variance here. Okay, so why don't we go the game? You have the Rams playing at home against, your version is Dallas, my version is Minnesota. Who you have in that one?
I think Rams. Got to go Rams.
Yeah, I think home field advantage makes all the difference there. So I agree. I'll go Rams, which would mean the Rams are going to play Green Bay in the next week in Green Bay in winter. Then we have in the next game we have. For you, it's Philadelphia. For me, it's Dallas. Dallas versus Atlanta. For you, it's Philly versus San Fran. Who do you take there?
No, Philly for sure.
So you take Philly. I am going to take in that game. I'm going to take Dallas. Okay. So we actually have a pretty similar conference finals here or conference semis. So you have New Orleans playing Philadelphia in New Orleans. Who do you take there?
New Orleans playing Philadelphia in New Orleans?
Yep.
New Orleans for sure.
Yeah, I have New Orleans over Dallas. And then we both have Green Bay at home versus the Rams in the cold. Who do you take there?
Green Bay, baby.
That is a homer pick for you, but I actually agree with it. So I'm going to take Green Bay.
It is a homer pick, 100%.
It is a homer pick. I think they're going to be running the ball a lot better this year. That going into the cold, and we see Goff, clams up a little bit. I don't think he's going to be as nervous in the playoffs since he just went to the Super Bowl. But I'm with you. I'm going to take Green Bay there just because of the home field advantage. If this game was in LA or is in LA, I'll take the Rams in that one. But then we have Green Bay going to New Orleans for the right to go to the Super Bowl. Who do you got?
Green Bay. I'm going to give them some love. I'm going down with the shit, man.
Oh, my goodness. A rematch of Super Bowl, was it 2? Green Bay and Kansas City?
Yeah.
I am going to take New Orleans there. I think it's the year. I think we get the Breeze versus Mahomes.
Let me just say this to all the listeners out there. If it ever came down to the Packers versus anybody in the championship game, there is no way I would ever not take them. It would be 100% homer, and I will go to my grave with that philosophy and mindset. And that's just how it's going to be.
So you're taking the Packers to win the Super Bowl then?
Yep, there we go.
Oh, my gosh. We've lost all credibility in this program.
Yeah, there's no validity. There's no credibility. It all just went out the window.
Should change the show name to Lose Money.
Yeah, sure. Don't listen to Brad.
Don't listen to Brad.
No, you all laugh now, but you'll see.
Next week, we're going to replace you with Baseball-y Llama. So,
yeah, you should.
Yeah, we got you replay this. Yeah,
should.
As usual, you're listening to Sean and Eric. Everybody's gonna be like, "What?" Yeah. So that Super Bowl, I'm gonna go with Andy Reid. I think he gets over the hump. I'm taking Kansas City this year. Mm-hmm. Even though New Orleans, I love their running defense. I love Drew Brees. They're hard to stop. Do you know where the Super Bowl? I'll tell you what. If the Super Bowl's in a dome, I'll take Kansas City.
I think it's in Miami. Don't you?
I don't remember. Where will 2020 Super Bowl be? Google, by the power of Google. Sunday, yep, Miami. So I am going to take Kansas City in that game. There you go. It has been thus decreed.
Yes.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, there's as spoken.
So, hey, Brad, next week, we get to talk on this podcast about Week 1 lines, baby.
Beautiful.
And we are going to unveil our Pick 6, our new Pick 6. I believe it will be a podcast and a YouTube show. For everybody out there listening, please subscribe. That helps. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at TFS_Sean. If you're a reader of the Almanac, by the time you're listening to this podcast, the preseason Week 3 notes and rankings should be out there. If you're not a reader of the Almanac, then you missed out this season. You missed out. Mm-hmm. But there's always next year. What else, man? I don't think there's anything else, man. I think we're just kind of winded down and, sipping on some scissor. By the way, Brad, I'm going to be in Miami this weekend, as you know. I'm going to be staying with you. And you do know that, right? Or am I supposed to get a hotel?
Oh, wait. That's right.
I can get a hotel if I need to.
It reminds me of that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles where they're laying in the same bed. He goes, "Where's your other hand? Between two pillows?"
Those are 2 pillows, yeah. I get that.
Those aren't pillows. I can't wait, buddy. Yeah, you're staying with me, man. We're going to have at it. It's going to be a fantastic day filled with whiskey and complaining about the world.
There you go. Complaining about the world. There is a tropical storm on its way to Miami, though, so we have to actually watch that.
Yeah, I just heard about that. That could throw a wrench in things, hey?
Could throw a big wrench, a monkey wrench.
Can't you ever just have any goddamn fun ever? Come on.
Well, we'll see, man. Hey, you're the one who picked a living on Miami Beach, man. It's like Tornado Alley down there, or Hurricane Alley.
Yeah, it's Tornado Alley down here.
Hey, what do they call their college team down there?
Hurricanes.
Oh, okay. Well,
there
what do you
is.
think that would be? No, all right. Hey, everybody. Brad and I, we aren't going to record live next week. We'll do a thing, but yeah, Brad and I are going to have 2 shows next week. It's going to be very cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Yay! All right, everybody out there. Hey, go have a great week. Make some bets. Don't pick the Packers for the Super Bowl. That's my expert advice. But we'll see how it shakes out. Go out, get paid.